Hello there, welcome to a video that I'm calling the Camera Rollercoaster because in about over three, maybe 4 years, I have traded, you know, sold, bought, etc., about 18 cameras, and I'm a little embarrassed about it. But I thought the least I can do is do a little video about the journey, show some samples, talk about each camera in case maybe one of these cameras is on your radar, and I'll try to go fast. Maybe we could do a minute or less than a minute for each one. I'll of course show photo sample, a picture of the camera itself, and let's jump right in. Let me tell first, I guess, that I did come from the Canon ecosystem, and a little bit of a spoiler, I actually still have a Canon, among other things, but that was my big change. I left the Canon ecosystem. APS-C, I kind of just thought it was too big. It's too bulky, and so I jumped into the mirrorless market. So that's kind of the background, and let's jump right in. The first camera I went to in this journey, which is the camera I still love, and the pictures I still love, is the Sony A7, the Orig. Um, I did love this camera. I don't, now I think about it fondly. Another spoiler. I really like all the Sony A7 Alpha series cameras, the full frame cameras. There's a couple on this list. So anyway, I'm not even really personally right now looking at too many detailed pictures of them. Because I remember these pictures very well. They're some of my favorites. Yeah, it was a great camera, and it is usually the cheapest one on MPB or other sites. I next moved to the Fuji ecosystem with a camera that I also, in hindsight, really like, and that is the Fuji X-T1. Yeah. Again, this is like how you look years later, whatever, months later, back at your pictures, and you realize that they were good. The camera was easy to work with. A couple of things, of course, with Fuji, you're often working with the film simulations, but I feel like no matter what I had, what simulation I had, but maybe I'm remembering this wrong. It was a warm camera. Like the images came out always very warm. Again, c- who knows? Could have been my settings, etc. But I always like them. And by the way, I always use vintage lenses. I have 1,000 adapters that I use for these. So I'm always using vintage lenses pretty much all the time, manual focus, etc. Um, so of course they're gonna have like a vintage vibe. But I was a real big fan of the T1. Anyway, it's also fairly cheap on your major resale sites. The next is one is a camera that this must have been a really brief interlude because I barely remember this camera. It is related to the XT1, which is the XT10. Why did I buy an XT10 when I already had an XT1? Yeah, I mean, this is the story of mistakes, so don't like don't try to find reason in this story. Let me see. I will have to look at some of these photos of the XT10. I don't really recall this camera at all. I don't know. Again, why did I pick it up? I mean, like the other Fujis, it was fine. It's also a story, like I said, of what film simulations I was going through at the time or what kind of editing I was doing. Again, don't really remember much about this camera, the XT10, but I mean, I'd probably just get the XT1, right? Now I went back to again another. If you see my list, it's a story of going from Fuji to Sony, just back to Fuji, back to Sony. The next camera I went to was a camera that arrived to me with some defects, so I sadly had to send it back. Don't know why I didn't just get another one, probably because the one I got was cheap and the condition was probably fairly used. And so I guess when I returned it and I went to purchase another one, it was kind of out of my price range. That's my best guess. And that is, if I haven't said it already, the A7R2. It was an amazing camera. Probably the most powerful camera that I've had in my hands because I buy kind of on the low end. Um, yeah, it was just a shame that the sensor had Like it looked like somebody had sprayed oil all over it. It just maybe in the cleaning process. And since I had just gotten it, I didn't really bother fixing it. It was the simplest thing just to return it. But I loved it. It was great. Some of the images I was able to keep, and I do have kind of in my portfolio slash, on my yeah, that come up in my photo albums and such. And they're just amazing. Again, I'm looking at the next camera. I probably had a fair amount of money to work with, so then maybe you can understand the next purchase, although very disappointed in his next purchase. Then I moved to the Fuji X100S. I have no good memories of this camera. It was bigger than I expected. It was clunky. Um, I, I just, it's the only X100 series camera I've held in my hands. I, I just didn't get it. And it only lasted like a day in my hand. And I mean, why did maybe I sent it back. Sometimes maybe I did send these back, and got a refund or trade, um, but I just didn't like it at all. And the next one is gonna be even probably more of a disappointment, and that is the Fuji X-A3, if memory serves. Now I believe this is correct, but and you can easily look this up. But the A series uses a different sensor, what is it, Bayern sensor, not the X-Trans sensor. So yeah, I didn't like the photos at all, and it felt cheap and it's small. It was a stupid choice. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about that. The next camera has a little more of a I have a little bit more of a complicated relationship with it, and that is, by the way, I hope I'm going a good mix of fast, like just getting to the point about these cameras. Um, and that is the XH1. Now, without even looking at any photos, I loved this camera as a video camera. I went to a party and it was a kind of a themed party. I took it. I had a manual lens. It just I was able to do this cool kind of summary video of the party itself. It was amazing video camera, image stabilization with the lenses that I was using. It just had this great look. However, I could not get like a photo out of it that I liked, a still, a photo. I just everything was inky, and I swear I was probably using a film simulation at first, but I did move on to I mean, of course I moved on to just raw, like when it seemed like it was a problem. I just never could get like photos that I liked out of it. They just again, it just I was I mean, user error, sure, maybe, but I just could not get a decent photo. And this is a camera actually that because it was so good at video, really still looking at it these days, it's still attractive to me, but then again, maybe I'm thinking maybe I'll be able to get something decent out of it still wise if I got another one, but yeah, who knows. Okay. Perhaps based on a little bit of disappointment with the photo quality of the XH1, I then I then moved to the Sony A6400. Man, this camera is so much more expensive than when I had it. So, I mean, the used even market. I definitely had something good in my hands at the time that I probably got for a decent price, especially compared to now, because these cameras are very expensive. Yeah, I don't. This is one where I don't know. I don't know, y'all. Why did I not keep this camera? In my memory, it was pretty darn good. Um, I think I think I have a little. I think one reason maybe I haven't didn't keep this camera is I I don't know if it had maybe it did have image stabilization. I forget. But sometimes I don't like the whole workflow, and maybe it's just the interface with Sony Video. Like the Fujifilm it's always been nice if you manage to get yourself a Fujifilm camera that has, maybe stabilization. But it is nice. The video comes out nicer. And so maybe that was my issue with the 6400 because I mean photo wise and the size and everything else, I mean I probably had no complaints, so I'm not really sure why it left my hands, but it did, and it's definitely one of the regrets. I moved on next to a camera that I also very really like, and that is the A7R. Yeah. Why did I get rid of this camera? Everybody, I don't know. It was obviously it was a little bit of a downgrade from the A7R2, but I remember it being pretty nice and don't really know why I don't have it anymore. Um, maybe because its video functions were pretty limited, but I really don't remember. I should have kept it. Okay, again, just a thousand regrets in this video, so I apologize. Next, I went back to the Fuji ecosystem with a camera that I like-ish. It's a Fuji X-E1. Eh, pictures are nice. Pictures always came out fine. It did seem old, and it is old. It also is like a square, like not a square, but like a rectangle that's without any kind of grip. It was also hard to hold. I just basically had to hold the camera by the lens all the time. It was a mix of just small, but not small enough. Kind of anyway. Everybody talks about the sensor on the XE1, and it is awesome. And I've seen tons of videos celebrating the sensor. Yeah, but I don't know. Again, it left me wanting, and boom, that led me to the market again. The next camera is a camera that I don't really buy a lot of or do often, this kind of camera, which is a compact camera, and that is the ZV-1F. Mostly a blogging camera and a video camera, and sure, in those categories, it probably was fine. But it doesn't shoot RAW, and I do like to have the RAW files. And I think in the end, I just thought, why, like, a photo with this camera is it much better than a phone camera? Anyway, again, there's not a whole lot of reason for me moving on for any of these, but I just decided it was not for me. I wanted more of a photography beast. And so I went back to Fuji with the X Pro 1, which is a camera that is celebrated heavily online. I thought it was fine. A little bit like the XE1. It was just kind of a weird shape, hard to hold, and big. Yeah, so I don't know. It just let me look. I guess let me look at one picture here. I don't know. I thought it was fine. Again, it's not, I mean, I guess some of these just some of these just left me cold, you know. I don't know. It didn't do anything for me, so I just, and then you go online and you start looking around, and of course you see something that catches your eye. And in this case, it was a camera that, oh, I really probably would like this camera back. Maybe most of all of these, and that was the Sony A7 II. And I've read online a lot about all of these cameras, of course. But the A7 II was it did feel better than maybe the R series. And I've never owned an S series camera, although, man, I was looking at what I won last week. But I really did like the A7 II. It was comfortable and it felt well built, and I have good memories of it. And as far as I remember, the video was okay. Again, I'm a pretty big fan of all the Sony Alpha, what do you want to call them? Series cameras. Yeah, this one was a good one. Yeah, definitely missed it. And it definitely catches my eye as one to reinvest in if the time comes. Okay, we're back to Fuji, everybody. Next, I went to the Fuji X-T3. Again, I have to go on memories, everybody, and of course, look at some of these pictures. I, I mean, I don't know. I think the pictures were fine. People use it a lot, I know, for video, but it's not stabilized. So I thought, it's okay for video, but not perfect. I think one of my issues with Fuji is, and this is probably controversial because people love the design of Fuji cameras, but I actually, like, I have my eye on the S10 and not the S20 because I can't afford it, but the S10 because of the grip. So I kind of miss on a Fuji just like a good grip. And I think it just kind of makes me struggle with them sometimes. And I mean, that's probably unfair and stupid, and but like I think that was with the XT3. It's just sometimes it's just like a square, and I just don't know how to hold it. Okay, actually, I think this one came with the grip, like a grip. It came with it, But then it's like, oh my gosh, then it just seems so huge and big and clanky, and it's like a lot of metal. And when I tell you what I went to next, you're gonna laugh. But I actually went back to the XE1. Oh my God, why did I go back to the XE1? I do not know. I probably watched a video talking about like its sensor and like was convinced again. And it's usually the cheapest model on, I mean, unless there's an A model for sale, but like the XE1 is pretty cheap on your major sites. So I went back to the XE1. I can't explain it, people. Next, I went to the Sony ZVE10, probably thinking some of this stuff, some of these decisions, by the way, are influenced by upcoming travel. And I thought, well, I want a camera that I can, blog with, although I never really blog, like, that kind of style. But I just wanted more of a video camera. And I thought, anyway, that sometimes is generating these decisions. Still catches my eye, the ZVE10. When I see it online, I just don't think it's for me. One of the underlying themes in some of these is that I do like a viewfinder because I'm usually shooting with manual focus lenses and I need to see some focus peaking, because my eyesight is not good enough to just kind of rely on like a LCD screen. And then you're just using, putting my glasses on back and forth. So I mean, look, we all have our issues, right? Um, so maybe my issue with this ZV-E10 was the lack of a viewfinder. I'm sure it's a great camera. I still watch videos about it. I still pine for it, if you will. But yeah, got rid of it. Now, this next decision is a little bit of a curveball. I actually went back to Canon and I got the EOS 60D. Now, if I remember correctly, of course, your old pictures come up in your your libraries, your online photo, whatever, your photo albums, right? And I think I had discovered that, wow, the pictures from the Canon era were pretty nice. Especially, and I'll admit to this, especially like if I do like to edit photos, and my Canon era was a non-editing era. The Canon era was JPEG, just straight out of camera. And I was looking back on those pictures, and I had a couple of good lenses for them. I don't really remember, but obviously I did. And they just seemed very natural, very pleasant. And so I went back to the 60D. Now, when I got the 60D, I remembered all the things I didn't like, which was that it literally hurts your hand to hold it because it's so heavy. You never take it anywhere because it's so heavy. So it didn't last long. But looking at the photos, I mean, yeah, they have a Canon simplicity that, I must admit is nice. But it didn't last long. Again, because it's size. And then there's some other things, when you get the older Canons, I forget what kind of memory card this one had, but you get some old technology with the Canons that it's a little, well, I have a big spoiler alert, which is that I currently own a Canon 5D, which I have had to invest in some older SD cards technology. And that, it's kind of weird to have like something so separate from your other kind of accessories. Okay, so I got rid of the EOS 60D and went with, and the final two cameras I'm going to mention are two cameras that I actually still own, and maybe I'm getting better about, like, maybe I'm getting off this roller coaster. The two cameras I currently still own are Sony A5100, which I bought after the 60D. Um, yeah, um, I like this camera. I bought it kind of for a travel camera. Again, I kind of always go fluctuate between like quality, size, etc. Just power and like size for travel. Because let's face it, I mean, it's hard to lug around big cameras these days, or you never will. You just take it on special trips, but day to day, you won't really use it. The A5100 is a great camera. I mean, it's awesome. It doesn't have a viewfinder, which, again, is always a downside for me. But it's been fine. I mean, great pictures. I've got lenses that can go with it. I haven't really tried much video with it. It's basically good enough, and it's not, if I sell it, it's not going to generate enough money to get rid of it. So I think it's going to stay. By the way, I mean, I mentioned a camera that I also have, which is the NEX3. So an older Sony APS-C, and that one is actually still with me too because it is actually great, simple but great. and it's also like, why would I sell it? It's not going to generate any money for like another purchase. So, I might as well keep it. So I think in the next camera I'm going to mention, which I've already mentioned, which is the Canon 5D. These are cameras that I think if I say stuck with, that sounds horrible, but like I'm going to keep them, I think, because again, they're not going to generate enough like resale value to make it worth it. I mean, it's not going to be soon, but if I do buy a new camera, it'll just be from scratch, right? I'm not going to trade in these for any because it's not going to generate enough money. So A5100 was fine, is fine. I mean, next trip I go on, it's gonna go in my little man bag. Boom, gonna be great because I got tons of small lenses for it. And the Canon 5D, which again, I finally said to myself, oh, I can pick one of these up for fairly cheap. I can rebuy an what do you call it? Automatic lens, automatic focus lens, and so I did, and I haven't taken it out a whole lot yet, but sure enough, it's got those, you know, Canon and also 5D colors that people celebrate, and I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be the camera that I use this fall for fall colors, and then I'll kind of, again, I'm not going to get rid of it because at this point it's just like a museum piece too, so I'll just keep it on the shelf at the very least. But for now, I'm looking forward to putting it through its paces in the fall colors, and that is the roller coaster. It's completely ridiculous because there are many cameras on this list that I would love to have again. Real quick, I would say that my top three, maybe four. Well, let's just go three or five. So my top three or five would be, without doubt, the Fuji X-T1. Highly recommend. I'm gonna go with, just given the price, I'm gonna go with the next one, the Sony A7 II. Actually, I maybe I'll do this with just three. The Sony A7 II, yeah, I mean, love it. And then let's put number three, let's put the Sony A6400. Those three cameras, like again, why did I get rid of them? I have no idea. I mean, obviously I have reasons, but it was ridiculous, and I regret it. So that is the story of the roller coaster. I hope it serves somebody out there. Maybe you had a question about one of these cameras, or maybe you are also on the roller coaster and we can help each other. But thanks for watching. I hope it wasn't too long. And, let's just maybe be happy with what we got for a little while. I'm trying. Thanks.